At home in Pocatello, I have two brands. One of my brands is Moz Studios, and Moz Studios is families, high school seniors, stuff along that line. My other brand is LaMere. My LaMere brand is where I incorporate all of my boudoir, glamour, fashion. And so today we're kind of going to talk a little bit about both of them and my philosophy on posing and shooting women with both genres. Probably my largest book of business with Moz Studios is high school seniors. And how I kind of bridge the gap with the fashion stuff for the high school seniors is that pretty much anymore, every single high school senior girl wants to be a model. And so we took what we were doing with the fashion glamour and brought it back into our high school seniors. So when I built my second studio back in Idaho, I actually built a salon inside the studio. And so what we do is these girls come in and my stylist takes care of them. We do all these kind of cool avant-garde looks to them. And so I'm going to show you some of the stuff that we do with them and what we do with the fashion stuff. So we're talking about posing. Classically, when we're posing women, it's supposed to be very soft, very S-curve. And when I'm posing women for strength or for power, or what I would call being badass, is I want a lot harder lines. I want 90-degree lines. I want hard posing. I want big structure. As you can see in this pose here, you see the big 90-degree lines. She's so tall and statuesque. A lot of people would think this isn't very classic, but it's harder and tougher. And today what we're realizing with a lot of younger girls is that's what they want. You know, they want to be that powerful woman. Same pose. As you can see, a lot of this has to do with our gapping in our lines and with our wrist structure. One of the things I do when I'm posing is I incorporate lens choice. Lens choice has a huge part of the posing. Because I'll bring Jenica up here.
I am laying down on the ground, shooting up. So Keith isn't really all that far from the ground.
Now in the studio when I'm shooting for power, my number one lens that I like to use is my 24-70. And the reason why I like the 24-70 is that part of all this has to do with distortion. Like if I'm shooting Jenica straight on at 70 mil, the pose is not going to be all that interesting, in my opinion.
It would not have been as dynamic of an image to you. You would just kind of pass by it. So angles make a big difference when you're talking about composition. Lights, I got strobes going off.
Like you said, pretty stagnant, pretty boring, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to work up her posing a little bit. So when I'm posing for strength or power, or what we like to call being badass, I would like her to broaden out that base, and once we're going to throw that hip out. One of the key factors for me is that I absolutely positively have to have the knees locked. To me, that really gives them that strength and that power. Like if she with this way, she's hooking out here, as soon as she brings that knee in, to me her structure changes completely. That she's no longer powerful, that it's like closed down and closed up. So just by locking that leg out once again, now we brought back attitude. Just going, once again, bring that into a little bit again, then lock it back out. And you see the difference. So once again, so now we've moved that out, we have this locked up.
The 51-4 again, shot at 1-4. So Jenny is completely and totally sharp.
And it's okay, but it's still to me kind of boring. It's like, okay, whatever. So then we're gonna change. We have to do something with her arms, right? So we have to match the arms to the bottom. So what I want her to do is I want you to put that hip on. And now, exactly, like I want very powerful. One thing you want to be careful of and look for is when you hip out to the side, you want to make sure that you drop the shoulder a little bit to the side that you're hipping to.
Again, that tells me where to place my subject compositionally. This was actually shot on the beach. I blew it out.
And now we're getting a little bit better. Can we go back? Can we look back on the slides?
This particular image.
So go to the first one I shot.
Towards the end frame here, rather than walking out of it.
Oh no, not the slides. I'm sorry, with the picture that I took.
But if you see the light on the back of her head, that is what told me where to place her in my image.
With the ones I showed with my camera?
I pay attention to what.
Yeah.
All of that.
So go back to our first one. And you can see, I want to show you guys a progression of where we're going with this.
Lens perspective. Visual storytelling. We tell stories, guys. We're artists. We tell stories with our images.
Okay, so now zip to the third one, to the last one we took. You're going to see our progression. All we're doing is very little minor changes in it, but it's really changing the whole structure of the picture. Now, we're going to have to do something with this other hand. A lot of the times when we're posing regularly, we want to have things on two different planes. Like I never want them even Steven. But when I'm posing someone to be really badass or tough, I'm actually going to put them on the same plane. So go ahead and put that so we match the hands. Now, right now, even with Jenica, we shot for a long time, but she seems very tense to me. When you're shooting women, what you want to look for is their tension. They're going to hold it up in their shoulders, they're going to hold it in their brows. Right now, she's still very tense. So what I want you to do is, there you go. Now, did you just see that? Go back to kind of how you, a little bit before. Now, the key to all this stuff is the very minute, small changes. So just by letting her exhale and relax, watch what's going to happen to her posture and to the pose. Just relax. And now it's so much more comfortable and believable. And all she really did was change the elevation of those shoulders from about here to here.
Sometimes when you're looking through your lens and you're composing your image, give yourself a little bit of space so that you can crop it. It's right away. Better to have too much room than not enough. More dancers. I love
Sorry,
dancers.
my thing came unplugged.
Beautiful composition, tight shot, because that was for her. When I'm doing it for myself, when I'm doing projects, I can set them up any way.
There we go. So now we're getting closer to being badass. But still, once again, we have a great posture. We have everything into place. But to me, the image is still not interesting. It's kind of boring. And so now here's where creative choice comes into play with the lens that you use. Now, if I was shooting this with an 85, a regular portrait lens, or even with a 50, this is what we're going to get. But she still doesn't look like a superhero to me. She does not look badass. And that's why I shoot with my 24-70, because now I'm going to dial her down to 24 mil. And we're going to shoot this.
And again, this is a tighter crop.
So now we went to 24 mil, but it's still dumb and boring. It's not very good. So now I'm going to have to get up here and I'm going to position myself and I'm going to put her in the frame the way I want to. Now, when you're shooting at 24 and you're shooting from down to up, it's a power position. But you have to be super careful of the plane of your lens. Like how many people focus and recompose? So when you focus and recompose, you have to make sure that when you're doing it at 24 millimeter, and I'll show you. So like, if I focus here and recompose and I turn my lens up, we start to distort her this way. If I focus and recompose and it's too far down, we're going to shorten her up. So when you're focusing on recomposing, like at 24 mil, then you want to make sure that your plane of your camera stays here and here so that you get even. So we're getting a little bit better, but now I'm going to come down to up on her and we're really going to make her sing.
I had no room because it's straight behind me. This is the shot that I wanted. So I took out my wide angle lens. Remember we talked about lens perspective? I took out my wide angle lens and that gave me that shot. This is not cropped. This is full frame. This is exactly how.
Now when you're shooting like this, what's the number one thing we just did? The picture looks kind of weird now.
No problem.
Say it if you know it. Or we're shooting up her nose. Her chin's too high and so it looks kind of funky, right? So what you have to do is we're going to kind of fix that situation. So when I'm looking down here, I'm going to bring that down to where I want it. And now, if we go back to that very first slide, if we look at this, I wish we could compare them, but So here's what our beginning slide was. It's 70 mil, pretty boring, we haven't changed anything, but now just by positioning her with some hard posing, making some nice 90-degree angles, getting down, using a lens that's gonna distort her the way we want to distort her, now we're creating something powerful. And like we said in my place, super badass.
It goes up there. Not a tight shot.
Go back to the last one.
It has to be really sensitive so that people continue to look at it. That's what's important. I create art. You guys create art. You don't want people to walk past your work. You want them to stop and be interested. You want them to engage. There has to be a reason for them to
So we see here, so this is in Europe. Now, one of the things when you're shooting women, you kind of have to take a look at them and use their strength. Like, she's probably one of my favorite people I've ever shot. This was at my workshop in New York City about a year and a half ago, 2 years, and her name's, I don't want to say Diana, but she'd actually she'd been diagnosed with cancer. And so she had shaved all her head because of that. And when she came in, to me, she had one of the most beautiful faces I've ever seen because it's just so strong. And so what I want to do is I wanted to match the posing to the strength of her face. And so, once again, we're going to have these really strong lines. She's going to be up in posture to match what she's doing.
And then, of course, I do this because I like breaking the rules. Once you understand what they are,
So here with Alyssa, also when you're thinking about your posing, it's not just posing, it has to do with the lighting. I can't tell you guys enough that if you're not familiar with your lighting patterns, then you should become very familiar with your lighting patterns, because your lighting patterns are what's going to create the mood, and they're going to dictate your actual image. So we see this, basically our lighting pattern here, we're doing a short light pattern. So the broad side of her face to us is in shadow, but the short side of her face is lit up. And so what we want to do with this, we want to bring this light across here, and we want to control as much depth and shadow as possible to make her look super strong.
You have to go out on a limb and do what you feel like is right and break the rules.
This year, going back, incorporating our senior bid. So she's a high school senior this year, and so what we have at my studio is what we call our fashion package. And so we shoot our regular senior pictures, and then they come in at another day. They have wardrobe for them. We do all this crazy avant-garde hair and this crazy avant-garde makeup, and we go and get wardrobe. Now I'm in the great state of Idaho, and we don't have fashion designers, and we don't have a lot of wardrobe, and so I kind of got to get creative where I get it. And I get asked a lot, where do you get all these cool outfits? And what I do is I'll go to different vintage stores, and I'll go to thrift stores, and I'll start kind of scoping it out. I think the best resource if you want really cool outfits and clothes are vintage stores. And how I go about getting that is I'll go in and I'll first scope out the store, and I'll find something I like, and then I'll go to the business owner and I'll say, hey, my name's Craig LaMere. I was wondering if I could rent some of your clothes. And I always offer to rent them versus borrowing them, because I don't want to buy them. Because once I shoot them, what am I going to do with them? And before they ever open their mouths and tell me yes or no, I have my iPad and I go, because this is what I do. And I stick my images in that business owner's face, and I start scrolling through them, so they get a good idea of what I'm going to do with their clothes. And then I say, so can I rent something from you? As soon as they say yes, I say, then I could rent it, or what I do with some of the people I do business with is I just shoot the images, and then I give you the pictures that you can use for your website or for your media. And I have yet to have someone make me pay to use their clothes, because they like the images so much. And so for me, that's a great resource to get things that I wouldn't even want to try to buy. Anyway, so like I said, this is one of our high school seniors, and this is what we do to them. So this here, once again, in my thrift store buying, thrift stores are probably they're probably not the greatest resource, but when you find gems, they really work out. So this dress here I found, I think it was like $5 in some secondhand store. And what I really, really liked about it was I really loved the sleeves. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to match the pose to the clothes. And so when you're posing people also, you want to work the wardrobe as much as you want to work the posing. So we see with her here, once again, we have this really hard straight leg. We have this hip out here. And what I want to do most of all, if I would have had her like this with her hand on her waist like normal, it would have lost all of the great things of this fabric. So when you guys are shooting and posing people with their wardrobe, you need to not only accentuate their body lines and use that to your advantage, but you want to use the clothes. So this is why we have this hand up here like this, so that we can get that, cloth to really flow. In the same way with this. This is one of our athletes. Now, when you're shooting an image like this is really more about her form than it is a portrait. Because if this was a portrait, you'd get beat up on because you say, oh, there's no light in her eyes and this and that and the other. But that's not what this image is about. Candace has 4 kids, and she's a fitness competitor, and she looks amazing. And so what this image is about is to celebrate her strength, her womanhood. And so this is why we rimlet her both, didn't put any mane or fill on her face because I could care less about that. All I want to show is off her strength and the pose. So one of the things that I do, and a lot of people in my portfolio say, is this your client work? And a lot of the images that you'll see, especially in my boudoir line, are not client work. That they are my practice work, because where I come from a very conservative place in Idaho. And what happens is every time I have a boudoir session, the women are so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, I'll sign a paper. Oh, I love that. Oh, great. Without fail, within 20 minutes, that lady's calling me and she's like, Aunt Mary saw my pictures on Facebook and she says she can't believe I look like that. And so I don't even mess around putting clients with boudoir, some of the glamour stuff on my Facebook page or my multimedia. So what we'll do is we'll find people and do a lot of practice sessions with them. And so this is one of the practice sessions. I had this kind of idea, I want to do this like candy skull thing. And my stylist, I kind of give her free reign. So we created this big giant wig. And so with her posing, I wanted the pose to be as strong as the makeup. And so we had to match the lighting to be as strong as the makeup. So once again here, just another off-camera flash. One of the other things, going back to lens choice. So the point of this is Jessie Ann. Once again, she's a what do they call those? She's not a fitness competitor. I can't remember the name of the sport she is, but they do a lot of push-ups and jumping around. It's not very traditional, a lot of kettlebell stuff. And so she wanted a picture. She lost a lot of weight, and so she wanted a portrait of herself to show her strength. And once again, just like we did up here, we did a single light, got down low, and just wanted to accent all of the stuff that she's been working on. Once again, another picture of Jessie Ann. One thing I would bring Jenica up here, like we do a lot of stuff with distorting people. What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you sit down. And so an image like this, we wanted to do something a little bit different, something that we could show our clients that was different than what we were shooting normally. And so one of the things that I think that is really good is if you can use distortion to your advantage to create things that are out of the norm. And so every woman wants her legs to look like they're a mile long. And so this is one of the ways we do it. So using my 24-70, I'm going to go to 24 mil. And with an image like this, you don't need to be at a super low f-stop. Because what's going to happen is we want to see Gabby, but we also want to see everything in focus. So I'm going to stay right around maybe 5-6 with this. I don't know if I can do it here because we got the regular ambient light. And as you can see here, we're even shooting this at 5.6, so we're gonna have to go up to an even higher f-stop because of what we're doing, because we're so close to here, we're losing too much of her in the detail. And so usually we shoot this with a strobe so we can shoot it really high. We'll see how far we can get up with this one with the ISO way up. So we're at 1200. And with something like this, what we'd start to do is we'd start to work the different angles. So what I'd have her do is I'd have her turn this way a little bit more. And one of the things I think that we do as photographers and we don't do enough of is we don't actually get up and move. Like if she stays in the same position, as long as if we get up off our feet and we start walking around, and we can find the different angles or interesting perspectives on her. So just like this, we'll see how many images we can get out of this. So we got one. Then I'm gonna bring her head around here. And like a lot of times when I'm shooting stuff like this, I'm gonna shoot it in portrait mode because I can make it look even longer. But something like this we wanna do in landscape. And so these are images like this or stuff you're not going to get like a whole series and stuff out of, but they're just going to be interesting single poses that's going to add to your cell sessions and stuff that's going to give, especially those younger girls, something that's a little bit different than someone else is shooting. One of the other things that we're doing when we're doing environmental portraiture, we want to take everything in, and it goes, so, so how many of you guys, do you guys ever use fisheyes? Fisheye and super wide angle lenses really can produce really interesting pictures. So if we see this, we see all our ceiling and stuff, we're gonna put her back in one of her super strong poses. So wider base. You're gonna bring your head clean around here. Hands, hips. So for me, when you're using these super wide angle lenses, they're gonna be better when you're doing it outside because we're gonna take in all of the background and make it more interesting. And here's a little tough. One of the other things I want to go through with you guys is about how you execute posing as far as your client goes, as far as how you actually conduct them. And one of the tricks that I'll tell people is that you want to think of when you're posing people as more you're conducting them. And so when I have Jenica here, one of the easiest ways that I do is, in order to get their head position in the place you want it, we're just basically going up, down, over, here, here. Because for me, I shoot super precise, and so like I said, I don't shoot a lot of volume of pictures. All I want to do is create like 3 or 4 really great pictures. Go ahead and kind of leave. Going back to the strength of posing, When we're in a position like this from the side, one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to make her as strong as I can. And like I said, we're trying to create that with these 90-degree angles and with her hand position. One of the things you want to make sure with your hand position when you're posing people is that you want to have those wrists bent. You want to have those fingers splayed. And you know, go back to your old rules of if it bends, bend it. And so I'm always trying to consciously make sure that all of our joints are bent, which makes it look a lot more fluid. In this position here, like you hear a lot of times as far as like armpits and stuff go, like you're not supposed to show the armpits, but for me, I don't really care because it's more about like her hard, strong form. And so what we're trying to do here, move this away, kick that leg out. Same thing with this position. A lot of times when I'm shooting, I don't really care so much about the portrait face, it's more something about the form. With this image here, I'm sorry, I'm losing my whole train of thought, man.
Relax, friends.
I don't know what's going on. Do you guys have any kind of questions or anything? Oh my gosh, I got really off track here. So when she came into the studio, she's very compact and very muscular, and so sometimes what I'll try to do is I want to make her super powerful, and so when I was shooting this pose, I was thinking of a dance. So I was thinking of the Paso Doble dance. Does anyone ever know that dance? And so what I really thought her as is more of a bullfighter. And so when we got Lynn here, we wanted to bring that leg up here, extend that, and really make her super powerful and fluid. That took probably about 15 different shots. I want to thank you guys for coming. I always kind of got off track a little bit.
Is that trick for that particular pose? Like someone holding her or something, or does
No, that's her. So basically all I had her do was we just had her extend that leg and throw those arms out as hard as we could. And we just flashed it a bunch of times until we got exactly what we wanted with her. So it was just really a matter of capturing that one image. Like I said, thank you guys for coming.
You did great.
Okay, so when you got it, so you will look longer.
Yeah, she looks pretty good. Oh man.